Hi everyone, I am super excited about tonight. We're going to be talking about marriage, the pitfalls of marriage, why I stay when it gets tough, and just how I make marriage work. It's going to be a lot of fun, and the reason I decided that we were going to talk about those three things tonight is because this entire month has been devoted to divorce. And there are some things that happen. There are some reasons that people walk away from their marriage. There are some reasons that people are forced to walk away from their marriage. And what I want to encourage you all to do is, through my personal thoughts of why I've chosen not to go that route and the commitment that I've made to staying in my marriage, even when it gets crazy and tough. So I'm super excited that you guys are here. I'm going to take a couple of moments and just wait for you guys to join. I know that some people are coming. So as we wait, I'm going to say hi, and then we're going to go ahead and get started, okay? Yay! And I'm totally on my phone looking at my babies. These are my babies. This is Jack and Sterling. When Sterling was just born, we had actually just brought him home. So I'm just taking a moment. I actually really just got home a few minutes ago from church and had an amazing worship service and great word and great teaching process, and so super excited, but I'm also like trying to catch my breath. So I will wait for a few minutes as you all cut here. Hi Lean, hi Ash. I'm just waiting for some people to join us. I've already said my introductions, but before we get started too much, I want to give everyone a chance to get here. Yay! I also think that I'm going to take this time to apologize. I did not get my live chat in last month. Last month was super busy. And unfortunately, I missed the live chat that was scheduled for June 21st. So forgive me, but I'm hoping to make it up tonight and that we can have some good dialogue. So, let's see. I think we have some people here. And so let's get started. You guys ready? Here we go. So, how I make my marriage work. Typically, I have to be honest with how my personality is. I like to do what I want to do, say what I want to say, go where I want to go. I don't like the idea of answering to anyone, but if you understand the covenant of marriage and understand that you are covered as a wife, now that we're not talking about husbands right now, but you're covered as a wife, it's not so your husband can tell you what to do and lord over you and all of those things, but by submitting to him and understanding that his leadership is governed by God and therefore is a blessing unto you. You're wanting to share those things. You're wanting to be connected. You're wanting to delve into all the intricacies of marriage, which means that those fears and those desperations that you had before, you're going to share them with him. And you're going to explain to him why certain things you don't respond well. Like you don't respond well to a certain tone of voice. You don't respond well to certain questions. You don't respond well to certain requests. And because he was designed for you and to lead you, he will not only understand those things, but he will work with you to creatively find resolution. But you have to be honest. So that's the biggest thing. That's what I'm going to say helps me in making my marriage work, is I'm honest. I'm honest about my shortcomings. I'm honest about my concerns. And I'm honest about the greatness that I am and what I deserve in a marriage and in a relationship. And I require that from him as well. I require that he is open with me. I probably ask him too many questions all the time, like, well, how are you feeling? What are you doing? And I know that someone's like, I'm fine, I'm good. But I like communication. Not necessarily when I'm upset, but I do like communication. And that kind of goes into the next thing. When I'm upset and I'm feeling like I'm not being heard or he's not investing in that moment with me, I take a couple minutes. I take at least 5 minutes to myself where I get to think, I get to debrief myself, bring myself back down from 10 because I'm always at 10, and bring myself down and say, okay, look, he may not understand where you're coming from. He doesn't know these things. You have to back off a little bit and also understand that his perspective is different. So you have to fill him in. He can't read your mind. but he can hear your heart. And if you share your heart with him, you can't be flustered all the time because you're going to run over your words, you're going to be hollering, you're going to be screaming, and he's not going to get it. You also can't hold everything in. I'm not very good at that. I hold everything in, and even in our almost 5 years of marriage, 6 years of dating, but almost 5 years of marriage, I'm still learning to share. I'm still learning to understand that he keeps all of my secrets, and he wants to do that. He wants to know who I am, and that's important to him. And so you have to have open dialogue. You have to have open discourse. You have to be honest. You have to know who you are. You also have to know what you bring to the table and what they bring to the table. And you have to celebrate that. That's how I make my marriage work. I make my marriage work by understanding that he's my best friend. So I have best friends, and they know that I love them, and I tell them everything, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a special place for him. He is more than a best friend. He's more than my hubs. He's more than my baby daddy. He's more than my homeboy. He's the person that I lay down next to at night, and those things that I share with him are my deepest, darkest things and my greatest triumphs. And his expectation is that I'll always pour that into him, that I will reserve some things for him and he's going to reserve some things for me. Because if you're giving all of these special things away to people, then what are you bringing to your marriage? Are you married to them or are you married to him? That's how I make my marriage work. I understand that there are certain friendships and certain relationships that I can't have anymore, and that he doesn't have, not because they're bad people or because it was a poor choice, but because of the investment that I poured into it. It took away from my marriage. It took away from my relationship. And you have to be so invested in your relationship and in the growth of your relationship that you're willing to walk away from certain things that are a detriment to it. Even if they're not bad people, even if it's not a bad situation. Because I love very hard, and I have crazy good friendships. I have friends from preschool that I'm still friends with. Like, really good friends, guys. Like, really, really good friends. But if they ever get to a place where I'm going to them more than I'm going to my husband, we got a problem. If they know more about me than my husband knows, we have a problem. If they get to hear my good news first, that's a problem. If they get to hear my bad news first, that's a problem. And so you have to put that into perspective. You have to realize who you are and who you were created for as your husband. That's what the word says. It says that woman was created from his rib for him, right? So that means before the world came about, before we were born, God had already determined who our partner was going to be, who our spouse was going to be. And so we have to invest back into them because we were taken from them, right? So if we're taken from their side, then we have to give back unto them. We're built for them to help sustain them because our role is to protect the innermost parts of them, just as they as a whole cover us. So if we're investing somewhere else, we're not investing in ourselves and we're not investing in them, and our marriage can't work. It's going to dry up. And I don't know about you, but I don't like desert marriages. I don't like hearing about my girl who's going through it all the time with her husband because they just don't get each other. They're battling it out. It's like, at some point, are you going to back up and realize that it's a communication thing, and both of you have to sit down and you have to say, hey, I was created for you. Show me how to love you. Show me how to work with you. Show me how to communicate. Show me how to fight for you. How we're going to fight for our marriage. That's important. And it's a lesson that I had to learn that I didn't know overnight. My husband has fought for me from day one. Even those days when I didn't want to be fought for, when I didn't want to be loved, when I wanted to go do it and run it, he fought for our marriage, and he continues to do that. I am thankful. I am really, really thankful because he's a big deal and a big reason as to why our marriage works. My husband does above and beyond what I could ever expect. I mean, the man cooks, he cleans, he takes care of the kids, he washes the clothes, he takes care of the puppy, he mows the lawn. Right now he's brokering a deal on my new car. He bought me the house that I wanted. He supported me when I didn't have a job and I wasn't sure if I was going to get a job, and I was super, super depressed. He has loved every last one of my scars, things that I cover up, all of my surgeries, all of my sicknesses, everything. Like this, above and beyond. But when you trust God and you follow God and you go after and what he says is for you, that's how it's going to be. And it makes it easy to work within your marriage. But before I get too far, there's someone that I want to bring in because I really want another perspective to be added on how making marriage work really happens, not just from my perspective, but from a male's perspective too. So give me a second. I'm going to make sure that I go get him, okay? Hold on one moment. Okay, here we go. Y'all ready? So,
hello.
It's my man.
Let me sit beside you.
Yeah, come on, sit beside me. Well, I may have to sit on you for a little bit, but here we go. All right. So, let me introduce really quick my husband. This is Rob. He is the other half.
What?
He's the other half to me, and I asked him literally 10 minutes ago if he would join us on this conversation, because I don't think that I can really have a discussion on how I make my marriage work if I didn't bring in the other person that's a part of it, so he can give his perspective on what it means to work within a marriage, the pitfalls of marriage, and why we've chosen to stay in our marriage even though we're not getting divorced. Don't get any ideas, don't spread any rumors, don't do that. We're totally in love, totally gonna stay married. He's with me for the rest of his life. But we are going to be honest and say that in 5 years, it has been the most amazing journey ever, but it's also the most amazing lesson in learning who we are and how well we actually work to work. You know, you got to put in the work to make your marriage work. And so I'm going to ask him what he thinks that he does to make marriage work. Ready? Honey.
Yeah. So,
I feel like talking to us.
Yeah. Can I get it? That's a big question.
So what do you think it takes to make a marriage work?
Generically, probably, sacrifice, love, commitment, thoughtfulness, sacrifice.
That's the second time you said sacrifice. Did y'all catch that?
Yeah.
It's real though. It's super
and
real.
just it takes a lot of willingness to learn, willingness to change, willingness to accept things not changing in certain aspects. But I think Petra said earlier, I think she did, but it's definitely a journey. It's definitely it's not a, you don't put it together and you're just fully baked right away. You keep working on it, you keep chiseling it, you keep whittling it down, you keep getting better at it, I think. And then there's always the other variables that jump in, like kids, career, even church. You can potentially let your service get in the way if you're not careful. So a lot of it's just being flexible, being.
Don't just sit closer to the mic.
Closer to the mic. But really just I think initially having a commitment to what you expect out of marriage, what you want to. What marriage is to you, and does that line up with what marriage is to the other person, and knowing if y'all have an agreement there, that it makes it a whole lot simpler to say, hey, we're going to start on the same page, we're going to go through this book page by page together, and when we arrive at the end of this book, wherever that may be, we're going to arrive together. So that's the big lesson I've learned, is that I can't do any of it, I can't do it all, she can't do it all, but sometimes it may not be 50-50. And not everything, because God strengthened her in certain areas, strengthened me in other areas, and so everything is really going to be based around: do you love God? Do you love yourself? And then are you truly committed to loving this person to the death? So it sounds very easy when you say it like that, but it's a lot of personal work. It's a lot of together work, and then it's a lot of working with God through all of it.
Yeah, I think that one of the big takeaways that I've gotten in the 6 years that we've been together, almost 5 years of marriage, is that it's worth the work. He makes it easy to realize that marriage was designed for me, and I know that that's not everybody's testimony, but he does. He makes it easy for me to understand that everything that I do, I couldn't do it by myself. Where God is calling me to, I couldn't do it without him. The children that I have, I wouldn't have them without him. The confidence that I have, I would not have it without him. But also the relationship with God that I have has grown because of his relationship with God, because he is so determined and so committed to following Christ and leading us as he's led. And that gives me purpose, and it gives me strength, and it gives me confidence in where we're going. I don't question him in the sense of, are you going to do what you believe God told you to do? Is it always going to be the right answer? Is it going to always be the answer that I want? No. But I understand that if I follow him and he's following the best way that he knows how, we're going to end up where we need to be. And it's worth the work in the end, no matter how hard it is, no matter how exhausting it is. Being married and committing to the marriage and committing to our vows and committing to the growth of our vows is important to us. And each day, I think we've made a commitment to work at it. I think we check in, we make sure that we stay connected. I can tell y'all, I'm the one who's the selfish one. I'm the one who is totally independent. I'm that person. But if you marry well and you listen when God tells you to listen, you'll come out on top, and you'll come out with the person who's going to work it out with you. And hi, Leslie, miss you too. Hi, everybody. I see y'all. So we're going to keep going. We're going to talk a little bit about why we stay when it gets tough. Because it does get tough, especially with two kids, two boys. It gets tough when you have two very different personalities. But we're both type A personalities too, which is interesting. We're also firstborn, both of us. And we're very, very driven. We're very invested in whatever we put our hands to. And that kind of goes back to my statement before. You need to make sure that you're investing in your marriage first and foremost. It is your first ministry, and it is your most important ministry, because everything else falls under that. It's the same structure as a relationship of Christ to the church. So the marriage is really important. And once you put that perspective on it, I think it becomes easier. But I think that for me, you want me to answer first? Why I stay when it gets tough?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Go right ahead.
I say when it gets tough, probably because I realize that I've made it tough, if I can be honest. There are times that I just do things, or I say things, or I keep things, or I put myself in situations that creates this cloud. And if I take ownership of that and I take responsibility of that, I realize there's no reason to leave. You really need to work it out, but you need to work it out within yourself first, and then you need to work it out between the two of you and understand what are those weaknesses, what are those soft areas that you really need to address, but also what are those fears that you aren't addressing, what are those concerns that you're not addressing. I stay when it gets tough because I realize that who I'm going to be is largely attached to him, and I believe that who he's going to become is largely attached to me. I know that we're not talking about true love, first love, once in a lifetime type of thing, but I do believe that Rob is my once in a lifetime. And in my heart of hearts, I believe that if I were to walk away from the marriage that God has given me, I will not walk into a season of prosperity. I will walk into a desert. And I've already told you, I don't like desert marriages. I don't like desert places. I don't like being hungry. I don't like being famished, parched, any of that. But what I believe is coming from us and our relationship and our individual ministries and everything. Isn't he cute? He's so cute. I stay because I'm meant for him. And I couldn't imagine my life with anyone else. And I know that where I've come from is so much different than where he's come from. And I know that God has grown me in some areas I didn't even realize I needed to be grown in. And when I see myself with him now, and from where I was when we first met, I'm thankful for his love. And I'm thankful for who he is, and how he's properly cared for me in my heart. And keeping that in mind, it's okay when it gets tough. Because I understand. Every day is not going to be perfect. Everything is not going to fall into place. But this man is going to love me. And he's going to guide me, and he's going to cover me. And I hope that I can do the same for him, because I want to treat him as he's treated me. And as long as we continue to treat each other well, I think we'll be okay. You want to answer that one?
What was the question? No, seriously, what was the question? Oh wait, I know it was when times get tough.
Yes.
Gotcha. Oh, why do you stay when times get tough? First, because I was told to marry Petra by God Himself.
Tell him the story.
Okay, all right, tell them the story.
It's my favorite part.
So, Petra and I met at Gainesville Church of God by Faith. Well, we didn't meet there, but our moment was there. So I had a youth convention. I was at Stark at the time. I had a youth service every fifth Sunday. I was there on Saturday, and met Petra. Carly McKnight was a guest speaker at the time, and long story short, I was cracking on her a little bit.
He's cracking on me, by the way. He's talking about me.
He's walked outside, and I got to the front of the church, and at this time in my life, I was like, I'm just going to stay single. For sure, I can do this. And then I heard someone say as she was walking away, "Are you just going to let her walk away?" And I looked around. I was on the front of the steps of the church, and I looked around, and there was no one there. And so I looked to the side of the church, and there was no one there. Looked to the other side of the church, and there was no one there. And so I was mildly spooked. I'll be honest, I was mildly spooked. But I had to go home and process. I didn't live too far away, so I went home and kind of processed that. And I was like, well, I don't even know hardly know who she is or what circle she runs in. So then, long story short, things happened, and we wound up communicating. I think probably by the next Wednesday, after that Saturday. So things moved pretty quickly. But that's kind of the bridge version of why, I think that's somewhat because it was ordered from that standpoint. I guess ordained would be the church word. But it was ordered from that perspective. So I really felt like, someone tell you to do something, God tell you to do something, you better do it. So that's part of it. That's kind of, if I had to put the thing at the foundation of it, that would be the foundation. And then there's, I made a commitment. I like to keep my commitments. She's a very lovely person. So, I'd be a fool to do something silly. But also, when you talk about walking away, that is I don't know what the other side of that even looks like, nor that I want to find out what that looks like, because I have so much here. I have so much that things I couldn't have outside of, I have my two boys. We have our two boys. I couldn't have that. I was trying to remain single. I couldn't have that. I think a lot of some of the things I've been blessed with, whether it be personally, professionally, and things of that nature, are a direct result of being with her and in alignment with and following what I was first told to do. So I don't take that lightly, and a lot of it is really just based on I have a personal, a personal need to make sure that she is happy, and that would make her very unhappy. So the investment there is, you want to do the best for your spouse. There's someone who cares about you. I want to do the best for God. I know He cares about me, and He gave me her. So really just a lot of it for me is it started as a duty, to obligation to fulfill from the standpoint of what I was ordered to do, and then it kind of just blossoms from there. So you kind of keep building on top of that. And that's what you build, I don't know if any of y'all have ever built something or designed something or anything like that, but when you build something, it's hard. It would be, and you build something beautiful, particularly, it's not something you just walk away from lightly. And when you have God covering it, you don't want to get from under that umbrella because it's a storm outside. So that's kind of how we do it, and we communicate, and, we give up a lot, mostly sleep.
It's actually true.
But that's how it gets done. We talk a lot in the middle of the night, and we sleep less. But it makes up for a lot.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. So last question that we had was, what are some of the pitfalls of marriage? You want to go?
They're all over the place. You could say, first off, start with yourself. You're probably the first pitfall with your marriage. Potential pitfall, that is. All of us come with flaws. All of us come with, our own ways of doing things. All of us come with, there's certain things like just shucks, cooking, like, I like, so really, real quick example that's probably stupid, but it'll make a lot of sense. So I'm a person, I don't like the underhand toilet paper when it comes from the wall side. I like to come overhand. And that may seem completely pointless, but it used to really frustrate me because Petra always puts it in the other way. And I was just sitting there like, come on, really? Every time? You're going to put it in the, because I think that's the dangerous way. It seems underhanded, right? I like overhanded stuff. But those little things when you are older, and one of my pastor, Ramsey, one of my youth pastors, gave me a great example. He said, you know, if you're 30 and she's 25, I think that's how old we were when we got met. Anyway, yeah. But that's 55 years of differences you have to work through. You know, so there's a whole lot going on. Like, you may have your way of doing things, she may have her way of doing things. What's y'all's ways of doing things? Y'all need to figure that out. And so ultimately, I got over the toilet paper thing. And there's some other little, you know, there's always those little quirks about people that you think, oh, you know, rose-colored glasses, she's so awesome, she's so beautiful, I can't believe she puts the toilet paper underhanded. What is wrong with her?
Mine too, Katie.
But those are some of the early pitfalls you'll find, is really, really thinking you're always right, and really looking at things from your point of view instead of, from your personal point of view instead of your point of view as far as, you know, the us point of view. I guess a few others in short order would just be other people. A lot of it I'll say is based on focus. You know, what are you looking at? What are you looking for? If you keep, you know, if your eyes keep turning around, you'll find something better in certain ways, because that's just a reality. But you may not find things that are actually better for you.
Right, Ashley.
So there's those kind of things. I mean, there's the slow drifting that you can find. So some of our lack of sleep is just because, you know, over the day we don't get to see each other. We're running hard, and then it's better for us to not drift, not go to sleep, and spend like a half hour just, you know, just talking. You know, not doing anything at all, but just talking, because that helps us communicate our days. It keeps us from drifting away and becoming. Connected. I mean, I spend more time with my professional cohort and my friends from that, you know, from my coworkers, than I do with my family. So if I don't dedicate some time to my family, it's inevitable that I'll find some other place to invest, essentially. So you have to always turn that investment. I think you were saying that earlier, weren't you? Yeah, invest back around into the things that are important and the things that are meaningful for your marriage, because that is a paramount concern. I would quit my job if it was impacting my marriage, for sure. I would discuss with her first, but we would find a way, because I do invest a lot in myself professionally. I invest a lot in other things, but there's nothing remotely that can remotely approach my family, particularly Petra. So it would just be crazy otherwise. But those are the pitfalls that I see, that I've, you know, seen for myself. What about you?
Yeah. So no, thanks, Twin. I agree. This is a really fun topic, and it's fun to have Robert here with me. So thanks, bub. But I would start with self too, but not just the self-absorbed portion of it, but the part where what we bring into our marriage, as in our fears, our concerns, our past relationships, our expectations for our relationship. All of those things, I think, fall under the umbrella of self, and they can become a pitfall to marriage if you don't adequately communicate them with your partner who's going to become your spouse. I think that you need to have that conversation well in advance before you get married, but I also think that you need to continue to have that conversation throughout your marriage, because your fears change, your concerns change. Oh, Bub wants to talk. Hold on.
One thing we did to avoid these pitfalls, is we made a concerted effort early on to uncover everything.
Yes.
Pull back the covers on everything before we got married. And so it gets rid of those surprises in marriage, those letdowns that you run across. A lot of times it was like, look, here's me as bare as can be, here's you as bare as can be. Can you deal? And if you can avoid a lot of those pitfalls that are destined to come.
Right. And I think that also talks about kind of what I shared before you came in, is just open honesty. Like, you have to be incredibly open. You have to be incredibly honest about who you are, what you're looking to do, what you're looking for, and kind of where all of that comes from, all the baggage that you have. You have to address that with the other person, because they don't know you. They don't know you. They're going to grow to know you. They're going to grow to love you. They're going to grow to work with you. They're going to grow to mature with you.
We would be the only people in our home, and Petra was just about scream every time I came into the bedroom. Like, I'm the only person here. Why are you screaming? What are you doing?
Because I wasn't used to having someone else in my space.
It was so awkward. It was so off-putting. I felt like a stranger in my own house all the time. It was really amazing. I was like, is she doing this again? Twice, 3 times the same day. You're screaming, and it's me.
Now, let me do a caveat. Before Rob and I got married, I still live with my parents. I married from my home. So, but my parents, if anyone knows, they're super, super busy. They were always gone. So I was at the house by myself almost all day until 9 o'clock at night? Something like that. I was, right. So I was always alone. When we got married, now, Rob will sneak up on you, okay?
I walk on carpet like everyone else does.
He would sneak up. And of course I would get to, who is that? What is that? Because I wasn't used to it. But that's also a part of growing in your marriage and in your partnership, because I know that it would throw Rob off. Like, why in the world is she scared of me being in my own house? But that's just one of those quirks. And that's also something that you probably should talk about. Like, hey, I've been alone this amount of time, even if I did live in the house with certain other people, but they weren't really there. I'm used to my own space. I'm used to people announcing themselves when they come into a room.
It's better now. It's better now.
So I think that's important. I forgive you. I forgive you. Another pitfall of marriage, I would agree, is other people. It can be your friends, your exes, the people that are not your exes but want to be your current. And they know that you're married. They know that you're invested somewhere else. But a lot of times people come sniffing around what already looks good. They don't come sniffing around something that they're not sure about. If they see that you're happy, if they see that you're super, super invested in what you're doing and that your relationship is growing and doing well, they want in. And who can blame them? Honestly, you see something good, you want to taste. That's just how it is. But you have to be careful and you have to guard your heart against that, because a lot of times they come sniffing at exactly that moment when you are having a weak area. Like you're feeling like, oh, he's not listening to me, or he's not invested in what I'm doing. He's too busy doing this. And they're coming and they're talking and saying what you want to hear or what you used to hear. So you have to guard your heart and you have to guard your mind and understand that just as you need to protect yourself, you have to protect him. And your marriage, because anybody that you invite into your heart and your mind, you're also inviting it into theirs, because remember that you're connected, so you have to be careful. It's like a virus. I did see a question. Lisa actually had a question. Is there any particular resource that you might recommend to help ask those honest questions to get to know the other person up front?
I think ours was just maturity. It was just a matter of like, look, you're about to take me through the ringer on this one. Just give me all the backstory, give me all the updates, and
I think too, that's also a good point, is if you're talking about marriage and forever and a committed relationship of any magnitude, you need to be mature. You need to have fleshed out those areas that you know you need to uncover with someone else. And even those things that you're not really sure about, put them on the table. If you're not sure, just put it on the table. Anytime that you're going to go into something with someone else, just open up. Ask every question. And my suggestion, and one thing that we did, we used to write almost everything down. We have lists of everything.
Still have it.
Exactly. And even if in the middle of the night a question came to mind, I'd write it down so I could ask them the next day, or vice versa. Have an accountability partner who can also, when you're getting too fresh, can be like, hey, have you asked this, this, and this, to see how they respond, and what their mindset is. So are they going to cover you when you're weak or doing something that you don't have any business doing? Have a spiritual leader who can also ask those things, who has preferably been married or seen those who are married, and kind of talk you through some things, some questions you may not have known to ask or to look for. Because you always need to have someone guiding you who's been through something. You don't want to just go in blind. That's a myth. Everything is not perfect. No marriage is perfect, and you're not going to have the answers immediately. So you're going to have to go to more than one resource. But the best thing to do is to be mature and delve into yourself. I would say that.
I think John Legend said it well when he said, all of me loves all of you. You really have to be, if you don't give someone all the good, all the bad, all the ugly of you, it's going to be harder for them to really love you right way. And I think that's why, God's love is so complete for us, because he sees us, as we truly are. He sees us bare. Yeah. He sees us, whole, as whole as we are, or whatever issues we have, he sees those things. And so when you talk about, and the Bible says, a man should love his wife like Christ loved the church. Christ went and said, I know everything about you. I'm still going to die for you. I know you hate me, and I'm still going to die for you. To restore you so that you can be made whole. And so, a lot of it is about, I want to be able to completely love my wife. I can't completely love her if I'm not willing to learn about who she is, and if she's not willing to tell me who she is. We come from two different states. So there's tons of stuff I could hide. There's tons of stuff she could hide. There's tons of stuff that could be hidden until it's uncovered. But to really have a sustainable, lasting, strong, committed relationship, it's saying, hey, everything's out there in the open. There's no surprises. There's nothing that's nothing's gonna creep up on you. You can make as educated a decision as you want. You can pray about these things when you make your decision to move forward or not move forward. But everything you need to know. So there, when you get in there after that, be like, hey, look, I knew everything going in. We're gonna make sure this works. So I think just having her being open enough to share those things and making sure we had that communication up front, prepared us for the long game. We're not, you're not preparing for the short run. You're running for the long game. So that was very important for me to, and for us to really make sure we had in place prior to I do's.
Yeah, so I don't know if we adequately answered your question, Lisa, but there's tons of resources out there, but we're really going to stick to you start with you, and you start with your maturity level and respect for the other person that you're bringing into a relationship, that you're going to want to open up to them, and they're going to be opening up to you. So I think that's where we would start, and then talk about the spiritual leadership, talk about the accountability partners. There's tons of books out there. I can make a list later and post that as well. But okay, good.
Facebook's stalking me a little bit. I checked Petra out on Facebook. I was like, who this? Really? Who you really? Looks good to me. Looks good.
It's easy to Facebook stalk me because I post.
You got to go way back too. You got to check out like 5 years ago. Don't just check out like the past year. People change. You like scroll down.
That's true.
Scroll down.
That is true.
And it was good.
It was good because you found out that we had actually had a conversation on Facebook 5 years before our real first conversation, and we don't remember that conversation at all. Like, I don't remember ever talking to him on Facebook. I don't ever remember having any type of conversation with him, except hi and bye when I would see him randomly at a church event, past our very, very first conversation on January 29th, 2011. So I think that's it. Another pitfall of marriage is not having something that you guys like to do together. You guys need to find an activity that's yours. I know that for Rob and I, we like to watch anime, which is really strange, but that's how we unwind together, besides talking in the middle of the night or reading certain things together, because we have different tastes. But you need to have something that you're willing to do together on a consistent basis. It doesn't necessarily have to be every day, but it has to be yours, and you have to enjoy it. Don't pick something just because you want to make him happy or you want to make her happy. Do something that you both can reasonably enjoy, that you can reasonably put some time into, and that it's for the two of you, and that you're connected on. You need to have something. If you don't have something that you're connected with, you're not going to have a connection. Like, what are you doing? You're always having different activities. You're always having different hobbies. You're always having different interests. You got to have something together. I think another pitfall of marriage is doing too much. Just doing too much. Like, I have a crazy schedule. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm gone all the time, and Rob is gone often for work, but we never let it get to the point, where they take precedent over the other person. Like, I know that if I were to call Rob and be like, I really just need time with you. Like, I need a moment. I can't do this. I know that he'll drop whatever he has going on to listen to me, take some time with me. We'll get away, we'll go to dinner, we'll do whatever we need to do. Never do so much that you can't hear the other person. Never do so much that you don't ever see the person. Never do so much that everybody else is more important than them and that they come second. Remember, they come first. It's your primary ministry. If you're talking about marriage, if you're courting and you're trying to get to that level, you should probably keep that in perspective too. Courting is different from just dating. Were there any others that you wanted to add? I'm going to say anger. Yeah, I'm going to say anger. I'm going to say letting yourself get caught up in your anger. That's for me. He's laughing because that's for me. I have a temper. And when I'm upset, I'm good. You ain't got to talk to me. We don't got to chit. We don't got to do nothing at all. But that's a problem. You have to learn to reel yourself back in and understand you do need to chit chat with your husband when you're upset. You do need to back off when you're about to get in his face for no reason. You do need to return things. You're not fighting. You're not arguing. The way that we do it is we have discussions. We do not argue. We do not fight. When you put a negative connotation on things, it automatically spirals out of control. Always put on it something that is worth being committed to, that you're invested in, and that could be positive. A discussion can be positive. You have to be invested in a discussion. You have to be engaged in a discussion. That's what you want. You don't want to be engaged in fighting. You don't want to be engaged in aggression. So I would say anger could also be a pitfall. Anything else, babe?
Oh, man. I can't imagine which ones we'll come across in the future, but I'm sure it's going to be, we have 2 kids, so I'm sure some of it's going to be child-related. Some decisions, punishment probably is one of them. Just a lot of those different things that come up because it's got to always just be the 2 of you. Yes. So you got to remember that, like Petra said, you 2 are central to it all. You're the hub of the wheel. Everything else is a spoke. If the hub falls apart, all the spokes drop. But you can keep the spokes. You can always add new spokes. You can you can always reduce the number if need be. But if you break apart that hub, that nucleus of who you are together, married, the rest of it is all, it all dies. So everything that we do, and we have a lot of important things for us. So, all the things that we've built together, with our children, with our family, with our ministries, with work, all that stuff falls apart in some way, form, or fashion. And I don't know. I think God is about plenitude. He likes the highest good. He likes, good, all good things to occur.
That was a good word.
So, it's an SAT word right there.
I like that word.
Yeah. So really, really making sure that, like, my goal is her highest good. My goal, even if it's saying no, my goal is her highest good. And if I can give her my highest good, I know that, she'll reciprocate that same thing. So, my investment is to make sure that she receives the best that she can receive, whether it's receiving something negative from me from the standpoint of a no,
not what I want to
or
hear.
Not right now, or never. At the same time, she gets plenty of yeses. So
I do.
She gets plenty of yeses. So, the goal is to make sure that she can become the woman she's destined to be, and that God has made her to be. And sometimes, I'm part of the input. I have to put something in to get to help her grow and to get the best out of her.
Agreed.
So, tons of pitfalls. I don't think there's any formula to it. I think the key would just be where your focus is, love on each other, and keep God at the center.
Yeah. Be committed to growing, guys. Be committed. When you take your vows, when you say that this is going to be forever, fight for forever. That's what it's got to be. If you're serious about it, if you're committed to it, it'll happen. If you're invested in it, it'll happen. You will get a return. It is not going to be easy. There are going to be days that you think, I don't know about this. At least that's what I've heard.
And also, I would stay out my feelings a whole lot.
Yes.
I was talking to the kids tonight about self-esteem, and I had a few epiphanies. I'll share them now. So we talk about self-esteem in our lives, and we talk about how you should feel about yourself and all those things. All that stuff is all well and good. But when you talk about marriage, God has said some very specific things about marriage and about the blessings of marriage and the blessings of children, the blessings of the community because of marriage and all these things. And as I was sharing with the kids tonight, I realized, our feelings our feelings and how we are in a moment, all those things aren't always the truth about us, because we can have a certain feeling and it be dead wrong. It can be based on something that's not real. It can be based on something that's totally from us and we don't realize is not in alignment with reality. God is always true. He's always faithful, and He's the ultimate reality. So even if someone kills me, I haven't died, because God has said you will live forever. So the point is that there's always with God, things are always going to be better than they would be with the absence of Him. And I've found that in our marriage overall, for the most part, we have our bumps and bruises occasionally, but overall, God sets the tone for what is the ultimate reality of our marriage. So even when we're struggling, God has set the tone for, like, you are blessed. And it's like, okay, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to believe that today, because I don't feel it, but we're going to have to believe on that today. And that's kind of, that's the gap that gets you that faith, that assurance in what God has said about your marriage and what God has said about, your lives together is what will ultimately help carry you through, because you can look at the other person and be like, not worth it. But then when you look at what God said, and He says it's always, for the right situation, is always worth it, you can really be confident in that and really rest in that. So I would encourage, when it comes to the pitfalls, as far as they're not always avoidable, but when they do come up, is remember what God said about things. Absolutely. And what He's promised, and knowing that He can't fail with His promises. Absolutely. And He has the power to keep His promises, which we don't always have. I've tried avoiding making promises I can't keep, but even if I fail, I know God can keep all His promises. So He's promised things for those who are married, for those who seek marriage, and so on. So you can trust in that. You can book it. You can put it in the bank. It will always be there.
I agree. We have gone over our time by a minute and a half, and before we pray with you all, I wanted to just tell you all thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions, and just allowing us to share our hearts with you. And we know that we don't have all the answers, but we're thankful for the opportunity to share some of them with you. Some of the things that we have learned. It's good, guys. Marriage is good. I am super, super happy to be married to this man, and I hope that he's super, super happy to be married to me. But even more importantly, I am thankful for the partnership that God has ordained for us. And I'm thankful that I got to share that with each of you tonight. So if you'll allow us to pray with you, we're going to let you go. Y'all ready? Father God, in the name of Jesus, I thank you right now for peace, for covering, for bringing us together, and for the conversation that we had tonight. God, I'm thankful for every opportunity to share your word. I'm thankful for every opportunity to share my husband with the world and the marriage that he has built with me. God, we understand that this is a ministry unto you. We understand that this is active discipleship for you. In every aspect of our lives, you have to be right in the front. Right in the front, Jesus. God, I thank you for everyone that's tuned in. I thank you for every heart that is tuned in. I thank you for every relationship, every marriage. God, I ask that you touch it right now. If there's any hurt, any despair, any weakness, God, heal it. If there's joy, God, grow it. God, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you. And I'm thankful for everyone who's under the sound of our voices. I'm thankful for the opportunity to share in ministry with this man. I'm thankful for the opportunity to grow with this man. And I hope, Lord, that we have been a blessing unto you and we have shared your word. Father God, in the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
All right, guys, we'll see you all soon. I should be back next month. That's my hope. So just try to hold me to it. If I'm running out of time during August, just send me a message. Say, hey, you need to get on your live chat. I look forward to seeing you girls on Saturday for the first Girls' Day Out. Those of you that did RSVP, it's going to be a lot of fun. And once again, thank you to everyone that has been invested and just really, really been covering me in prayer with a few good thoughts. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a good night. Love you.
See you later.